This is the Gerry Callahan Show.
As we enter day 2 of the government shutdown, the Schumer shutdown, I think it's clear at this point that the Democrats have a problem. There's been a number of shutdowns. I believe the number is 14 shutdowns in the last 30 years. We had a 35-day shutdown in Trump's first administration, the longest ever. But things are different now. If you haven't noticed, Democrats have a couple of problems. One, they're not smart enough to pull this off anymore. They're just not. Their goal is to go out there and lie and tell the American people, we don't want to pay for Medicaid for illegal aliens. No, we don't want to fund NPR. We don't want to bring back all our pet projects and all the drag shows in Ecuador and hope the media will carry their water. That's how it used to work. In the old days, back when there were shutdowns in the 80s and 90s, Democrats would go in front of the camera, they would lie, and the media would carry their water, they would carry their message, and try to convince the public that it's all the fault of the Republicans. Now we have a different Democrat Party. We have theater kids, we have radicals, we have idiots who go out there and just can't help themselves. They cannot pull this off. We also have a different media landscape. People aren't watching the evening news. They're not getting all their information from George Stephanopoulos and the New York Times and CNN. There are many other ways. You can get online right now and we will go through the sound, and you can get dozens of Democrats who are just not good at this, who just don't stick to the script. Normally, Democrats are in lockstep, but at this point, you have people out there saying, you know what? We are giving health care to illegal aliens. Yes, that's what we want. Yes, we want to bring back all those crazy programs that DOGE and the big, beautiful bill cut out. Those are things the American people wanted. They don't want to send their money to pay for condoms in Gaza or circumcisions in Africa. They're sick of that. They're done with that. And the Democrats are sticking to their guns. There's some remarkable examples of these fools saying the quiet part out loud. They're going to try to convince you they're not giving your money to illegal aliens through Medicaid, through hospitals. But you know better. We all know better. We know they're doing that. We know they're committed to their most important constituency, and that would be illegals, illegal aliens. They will never give this up. They need them. They need them for the census. They need them for the congressional apportionment, and they need them to be future Democrat voters. And they're not going to just sit there and let Donald Trump and Tom Homan and Stephen Miller to kick their darlings out of the country. Problem is, there's receipts, there's records, there's sound, there's proof that that's what they're doing. And they can sit there and they will, Liz Warren and Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, they can look you in the eye and lie to you. And then if there's an honest reporter out there, they'll say, look, hell, J.D. Vance and many other Republicans are doing it. Say, look, here's the proof. They're giving your money to illegal aliens. There's an estimate from the CBO that under Biden and Harris, American taxpayers spent $16 billion on health care for illegal aliens. It seems bizarre that that's the hill they want to die on. That's the line in the sand for Democrats, but it's true. There's just no denying it. There's just no running. You can do your best, Abby Phillip. You can do your best, Stephanopoulos, but the truth is coming out. There was a remarkable moment this morning on Fox with Jeanne Shaheen, the Democrat senator from New Hampshire, who I'll give her credit, she went on Fox. That's something, Kamala Harris won't do, Liz Warren won't do, but I think she probably regrets it. This was just great. She claims, of course, that Democrats aren't doing this. No, we're not giving illegal aliens your money. And Lawrence Jones brings the receipts. And the best clip of all is from the debate in 2019 when there's a dozen Democrats up on stage and the moderator says, show of hands, just show of hands. How many of you want to give health care coverage, give Medicaid to illegal aliens? You know how many raised their hands? All of them. I'm not sure how you run from this, deny this. Bernie Sanders put up 2 hands. He was so committed to giving your money to people who should not be in your country. Here is this moment, and I'm not sure what the proper response is, what we changed our minds. Yeah, 5 years ago, every single leader of our party, everyone said we want to give illegal aliens health care. And now what are you supposed to say? We flipped. We saw the error of our ways. It's hard to believe this wasn't a bigger deal when you have every candidate who wants to be president saying, yes, this is what I'm committed to, when you know how unpopular it is with the voters, with the public. Joe Biden, hand up. Yep. All of them. Yes, all of them. Watch this.
I haven't heard anybody in my party saying that illegal immigrants should get access to the health insurance marketplace.
I'm so glad you said that. Actually, I have some tape of your Democratic Party members saying this on the debate stage. So they've all said it. Let's play the clip.
A lot of you have been talking tonight about these government health care plans that you've proposed in one form or another. This is a show of hands question, and hold them up for a moment so people can see. Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants. Okay.
Senator, that's literally
amazing. Go ahead, play some more from Lauren. Everyone raises their hands, and now everyone is telling you, oh no, the Republicans are lying. We don't want to give health care to illegal aliens. And it's too easy for the media, if they're willing to do their jobs, or the Republicans, to call them out, to prove they're lying. Give me that J.D. Vance post, because he's so good at this. J.D. Vance is he's the gift that keeps on giving. It's hard to believe that Mike Pence was in this position, 5 years ago, or any Dan Quayle or Dick Cheney. We have such a great vice president. He gets called out. Someone saying, you're lying. And he posts this from the New York State of Health official website. New health insurance option for undocumented immigrants over 65. And there it is. In writing, an offer to illegal aliens. Here's how you can get coverage in New York. Here's the deal. You could say, if you're sitting in Oklahoma, we don't give illegal aliens health coverage, but they do it in New York, and they do it in Massachusetts, and they do it in Maine, and they do it in New York. And you know where that money comes from? The federal government. The federal government is giving money to the states, and the states are giving it to illegal aliens, and they're advertising it like that. You could find the same thing in California or New York or Oregon or Maine. They're doing it, and then they're lying about it, just flat out lying about it. Nobody is a more consistent, a more dedicated liar than the fake Indian, whose whole career is built on a lie, as we know. And I will give her credit. She doesn't waver. She will go in front of the camera every day. She'll go online every day and post. And she doesn't care if she gets called out, if she gets proven to be a liar. It doesn't matter to Liz Warren. She will stick to her guns. She went on with Tony Dokapil. I forget how he says his name. The couple, the guy on whatever it is, Good Morning America today, one of the morning shows I've never watched. But of course, she goes on there thinking she has a friendly audience. And I want you to listen to what she says about which illegal aliens actually do get coverage. First of all, they flat out say they don't give them coverage. And then one after another say, well, we do, but it's not that big a deal. And they do, but people will die if we don't give health care coverage to illegal aliens. By the way, if you don't give health care coverage to illegal aliens, maybe they leave. Maybe they don't come. Do you ever think of that? Maybe it's a magnet. So they come here and they get free health care, which they didn't get in their home country. Anyway, here she is this morning, lying Liz, just looking in the camera and lying as always.
Republicans say what you're really fighting for is taxpayer dollars for, as they put it, illegal aliens. I know that's not strictly true, but there is a provision.
Excuse me, not strictly true.
It's not true directly, but
out lie. It is a flat out lie.
The way that they frame it.
There is nothing in Medicaid, there is nothing in Medicare that permits one undocumented immigrant to get $1 of assistance.
Senator, if you let me finish the question.
Of course,
Senator,
I'm sorry.
Sorry, in the Democratic counteroffer, the proposal for funding, there is a restoration of Medicaid benefits for certain non-citizens that it had been taken away in the big, beautiful bill, as the Republicans put it. Republicans don't think those people should be getting health care on the taxpayer dime. I'm not asking on the merits. Politically, putting that in there exposes you to this talking point, this lie, as you put it. Why put it in there? Why is it worth it?
No, what's happened is that what we're saying is that whenever hospitals give care, what is going to be the level of reimbursement? And the Republicans said it's going to be a low level. The Democrats said we just want to go back to the level it was before because you're going to bankrupt hospitals. You're going to put rural hospitals out of business. The Republicans and the Democrats plan, nothing changes the number of undocumented immigrants who still get care if they show up bleeding and unconscious at an emergency room. There is absolutely zero difference. The difference is whether or not hospitals, who under laws that date back to Ronald Reagan, may provide emergency care to anyone who's unconscious, will actually
stop her right there, because right there, she knows she's lying. Have you ever been in an emergency room, Liz? Are they only there when they're bleeding and unconscious? Is that the only kind of illegal alien who gets care in our emergency rooms? Of course not. Everyone who's been in an emergency room in the last 5-10 years knows that illegal aliens use that as primary care. That's where they go when they have the sniffles. I remember being in an emergency room on a Sunday night, and it was packed. And it was packed with people who weren't unconscious and weren't bleeding. And I waited. I got a gash in my head playing basketball. And one of the guys working at the hospital, I said, what is going on? And he says, you can't come here on Sunday night. That's your mistake. And I said, why? He says, all these people, all they're looking for is a doctor's note to get out of work. It's the same every Sunday night. They don't want to work, so they need a doctor's note. So they come in and say, I got a cold or a headache, and they get a doctor's note. Emergency rooms are overrun. And listen to the logic from Liz Warren. If we don't continue to pay for illegal aliens who, again, use the ER as their primary care, then the hospitals will be bankrupted. Why? If we don't continue to treat people who aren't supposed to be in the country with taxpayer money, it'll bankrupt how? Explain that, lady. She can't. She won't. She doesn't care. She was flustered that a guy on CBS morning show would actually ask her a real question and not just go along the way they usually do. But here, the other problem they have is as I mentioned, they're not smart enough. They can't do this, and they can't do it if they don't restrict their appearances to going on with Stephanopoulos or someone who is, a party operative, a Democrat operative. Ro Khanna is generally considered one of the more reasonable Democrats, and here's his defense for the idea that they're giving healthcare to illegal aliens, which the American taxpayers are dead set against. It's a losing issue, and they know it. So this guy, who's not he's not like Liz. He's not a good professional liar. Just admits Yeah, we're doing it, but we don't do it that much. That kind of blows the whole thing up. You can't sit there and say, yeah, we don't do it. We don't give money to illegal aliens, which is what you're supposed to do if you're a Democrat and you're out there making the media rounds. But he tells the truth. Here it is.
In terms of health care, the reality is they're just not being honest. The amount of money that actually is going towards people who are undocumented is such a small portion of the Medicaid cuts or the Affordable Care Act, if at all. And so we can argue that point, but the reality that even the vice president would acknowledge, that anyone who looks at the numbers will acknowledge, is 90 to 95% of the funding we're talking about is talking about funding for American citizens.
So I don't think you were supposed to say that, Ro. So 90% is for American citizens. So you're talking 10%, billions and billions of dollars for illegals. You just admitted it. You just told the truth. That's a problem right there. That's a problem. So you will shut down the government to protect that 10%, which goes to people who aren't supposed to be here. We have voted for this 9 months ago. Or last November, we voted for this. We don't want it to happen anymore. It's not an area of compromise. We're just going to give some of the money to illegals. No, we're not. We're done. We're through with that. My favorite probably, though, was this clown, Sri Thanadar. Remember Sri Thanadar? He's this freak from Michigan, this congressman from India who's 70 years old and looks like he's about 35. I'll give him credit, but he's a whack job. He's the guy that keeps trying to impeach Trump, and he's just a lunatic. And you look at him and you say, that's a congressman from the United States, but it's Michigan, and they're not sending their best. Here he is saying it is worth it to shut down the government to protect illegal health care for illegal aliens. It's worth it. It's what they have to do. Go ahead.
Turning back to Detroit this morning after the Republicans failed to show up in the U.S. House. We got to make sure Americans have the health care that they need. And if that means we got to shut this government down, so be it.
If we have to shut the government down, so be it. Well, this is something I think they're going to regret. And I'm optimistic on this count that the Trump administration was playing chess, that now they can do things they couldn't have done if they didn't shut the government down. Now Trump can do things. And it's pretty clear that Russ Vought, the OMB guy, had a plan. Let's let them shut the government down and let's go to work. They immediately put an end to $8 billion in green new scam money. End to that. They stopped funding for public works projects in New York City. I believe that was $18 billion. But here's the best part. God bless Trump the troll. Get Trump's post from this morning. Because you remember Project 2025, Russ Vought was one of the authors of that. And that was the boogeyman in the election that all the Democrats said, oh, all the View and all the crazies on the left said, that's Project 2025, as if it was scary. I remember looking at it saying, what's so bad about that? Here's Trump this morning trolling again. He says, I have a meeting today with Russ Vought, he of Project 2025 fame, to determine which of the many Democrat agencies, most of which are political scams, he recommends to be cut and whether or not those cuts will be temporary or permanent. I can't believe the radical left Democrats gave me this unprecedented opportunity. They are not stupid people, so maybe this is their way of wanting to quietly and quickly make America great. President DJT. So you're going to hear about this today. I don't think the Senate is even in Washington at this point. I don't think they're coming back till tomorrow. So it's going to go on another day at least, maybe more. And Russ Vought, who's brilliant, is going to come up with other deep cuts. He could fire hundreds of thousands of federal employees, non-essential federal employees, and the Democrats will kick and scream, but he couldn't have done it if they didn't shut down the government. So I don't think they thought this through, which is going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. This could be the moment that the Project 2025 agenda is implemented and they make real cuts, which is what we voted for, which is what we want. And I will give Trump all the credit for this. Clearly, he doesn't seem upset about this, that he's not angry. He's not making appearances. There was one, I think it was the Daily Beast, had a piece yesterday saying, where is Trump? He hasn't been seen. He gave a 1-hour speech on Tuesday, 2 days ago, Monday. He gave a 1-hour speech at Quantico, but he hasn't been seen since the shutdown. No, that's a good thing. He's kicking back, sitting back, and he's meeting with Russ Vought to figure out what other massive, meaningful cuts they can make in the federal government. And I'm just waiting, looking forward to Liz Warren's head exploding all over Tony Dokapil on CBS this morning. All right. We'll be keeping an eye on it. I'm predicting right now. I know I'm not always the most optimistic. I'm predicting right now this is going to blow up in the faces of Democrats, and they are going to regret the day they shut down the government just to keep illegal aliens on Medicaid. That is what they're doing. That is why they're doing it. And they're really showing their true colors. But speaking of true colors, I want to get to this Zoran Mondani, who, if you haven't been paying attention, is the next mayor of New York City. Yes, a communist. And he's out there doing it. He's a performer, is what he is. He's another theater kid, another rich little theater kid who's never worked a day in his life, rich parents, who is a communist, who said the ultimate goal is seizing the means of production, who wants to public government-owned grocery stores, free buses, gone over the whole checklist. By the way, here's my analysis before we get to his appearance on The View, which went about as well as it could be, as you expected. I mean, they slobbered all over him, but here's how you know he's a phony. Here's how you know he's just performing. He's just acting. He is a devout Muslim. We know that, right? Well, nothing wrong with that. He's also a complete woke radical. He wants to spend $65 million on taxpayer money on sex changes for children. He's got completely radical, defund the police. Oh, he wanted to fund the police because they're anti-queer. How many devout radicals are pro-queer? How many devout radicals are supportive of sex changes for kids? He wants to have it both ways. Hell, he is having it both ways. He's pulling it off. He wants to pander to the radical left in New York City, but also to the Muslim community. How can it be both? How can you have both? I mean, we've seen, Queers for Palestine get rejected, get mocked by radical Muslims. The pro-Hamas crowd does not want the Queers for Palestine in their group, in their gang. So you can't be both. But he is. He's pulling it off. He's both. He has the support of the Muslim community. He hates Israel. He won't denounce, globalize the Intifada. He says he wants to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. So he is consistent with the Muslims in New York City. At the same time, he's winning the radical LGBTQ vote. It's going to blow up again. This is not going to go well. I can't look at that, eating with his hands, but he goes on The View. And obviously they're a bunch of liberals, and they're also, as we know, stupid. So they don't ask any real questions. I think this is it. We'll get the one real question with no follow-up. And this smiling Manchurian candidate just gives you the usual duck and dodge and, non-answer answer. But here he is being asked, is this about the defund the police and the police? And I want you to listen to his answer, how he's handling it, how he's making amends, reaching out to the NYPD. Go ahead.
So, Zoran, back in 2020, you called for defunding the police, something you've since walked back. You also called the NYPD racist, anti-queer, and a threat to public safety in 2020, but now agree they deserve an apology. You initially refused to denounce highly charged rhetoric related to Israel, then later said you would discourage its use. How can New Yorkers trust you and not be concerned that consultants are getting in your ear to get you elected, but you still hold all of those positions?
Well, they can rest assured that it isn't consultants in my ear. And I think this is another part of, to be a young person looking to lead is also to leave the opening for growth and understanding. And I can tell you, growing up in this city, I thought often about safety and justice, and I saw how justice was often left aside. Whether it was the Central Park Five, whether it was Sean Bell, whether it was Eric Garner, whether it was watching the news of Michael Brown, and then in 2020 to see the murder of George Floyd, it felt as if there had never been a wider chasm in my life between those things. And after that, becoming an assembly member and learning about the ways in which you deliver justice is by intertwining it with safety. Can't be done alone. And learning that behind the headlines, behind the caricatures, we're speaking about police officers who are just trying to do their best. And my job as a mayor is to represent those officers who put their lives on the line, represent Muslim New Yorkers who were illegally surveilled, represent Black and brown New Yorkers who've been the victims of police brutality, and do all of it
And
with
Jewish
a commitment.
Americans.
Absolutely.
And
white people, everybody. We talk about everybody.
This is a run-on sentence that includes every New Yorker because of the fact that safety and justice can be non-negotiable no matter who we're speaking about.
And can I ask, have you formally apologized to the NYPD?
These are conversations that I'm having individually with officers. And I've appreciated that because it's through those conversations with rank and file officers that I've learned more about the difficulties of this job. The difficulties where, you know, for example, when I started running this race, about 200 officers were leaving the department every month. Now it's 350. And when you ask officers why, they'll tell you forced overtime. And what they mean by that is, you know, you got 3 days off at the end of the week, you're planning a trip with your family, and at the last minute you're told, second day you got to be back. And part of the reason you got to be back is because we're asking cops to do everything we can think of. We're asking them to handle mental health calls. We're asking them to deal with homelessness. Every year now, cops respond to 200,000 mental health calls. So our proposal is allow the officers to do their job of tackling serious crime and create a Department of Community Safety that deals with homelessness, that deals with mental health crisis, so that we don't have response times like we do today, which are closer to 16 minutes.
This is going to go so well. 350 a month are leaving. Wait until he takes office. There is just going to be an exodus. The cops are going to leave in droves. By the way, I believe there are there are 35,000 officers in the NYPD. You think he's apologized to all of them individually? Of course he hasn't. He doesn't feel any regret for what he's and he just lies. I mean, Michael Brown, does he still believe that myth that he hands up, don't shoot? We've gone through that. George Floyd murdered? No, he wasn't. We know that now, but he doesn't care. He's going to spend, I forget the number, like millions on his hate crime department. They're going to pursue hate crimes. And I'm just going to guess they're not going to be hate crimes against Jewish New Yorkers. It's going to be like the UK. They're going to be monitoring social media. Anyone who criticizes Hamas or criticizes any Muslim country, they'll be surveilled. He is going to be a disaster. And people are going to leave New York. The crime's going to get worse. He actually said that violence is a social construct. He doesn't believe that violence is a problem in New York City. How's that going to go? Here he is. Here's his latest ad, and I guess he has to count on stupid people and the cat ladies in the Upper East Side and just the wokesters out there who fall for this. But this is so ridiculous. He made an ad. It's like a takeoff on the Bachelor. This is so silly. In 2025, this is a candidate to be mayor of our biggest city. And here is his latest ad.
You deserve better. You deserve to be able to raise your family here, to be safe, to travel where you need to, free of costs and worry. You deserve someone who works as hard as you do, who thinks about you every second of the day. That's the kind of mayor I promise to be. New York, will you accept this rose?
Oh my God.
Zoran for NYC.
That looks like an SNL skit, a bad one. You deserve better. You deserve someone who thinks about you all day. Is that what you do, Zoran? You think about me all day? You know what? Come full circle. We need this guy. We need to show people that socialism doesn't work. The woke policies are failures. Defund the police is a failure. It doesn't. Crime is a real problem. You can't send a social worker to a domestic violence call. So you get people killed, and he will get people killed. But here's a real scary poll that was just done by Gallup, and I blame our education system. Education has failed us in America. Elementary, high school, college. This is what teachers unions and woke policies and woke principals and illegal alien superintendents of schools. Here's what they have wrought. Poll out by Gallup. 54% of Americans, down from 60% in 2021, have a positive opinion of capitalism, while a steady 39% view socialism positively. Almost 40%, 4 of 10 Americans have a positive view of socialism. I know I'm old, but when I grew up, we were taught that socialism is bad, that capitalism is good, the best system in the world. And now they're being taught the opposite, and they're believing it. That gap is only 15 points. People think there are people who have a negative view of capitalism and a positive view of socialism. If they looked at Venezuela, I mean, that is amazing. But we're going to get a big sample of it, a big test case beginning in January, whenever this commie takes office. And I think we can rest assured that it will be a disaster. All right, we got so much. We got to get to the woke Pope. This is so disappointing. The new Pope, Pope Leo from Chicago. He's worse than the last guy. He's another Pope Francis. He's another weak, woke, elitist, globalist, climate change clown. It's just disappointing. We'll get to that. And the newest faculty member of Harvard. Let me just get his name. Lahore Vagistan. That is a faculty member at Harvard. That's where your tax money goes when they get those huge billion-dollar grants. Here's where your taxpayer money. We'll tell you what courses Lahore Vagistan will be teaching at Harvard. We'll get to that and more, but first.
Excuse me.
What do you get when you have a bald eagle standing on top of a silverback gorilla that is riding on top of a T-Rex? Confidence, that's what you get, pure confidence. The kind of confidence that you really need in the bedroom for that next level laser wolf riding a raptor in a Lamborghini through outer space type of experience. That's where Ruziet Go Long comes in. This isn't just another ED pill. It's a confidence game changer. Go Long combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in one dual-action formula to help you get hard and go the distance. Plus, effects last up to 36 hours, which means you can feel confident all day and night and then some into the next day, too. Getting started is simple. Connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online at Ruziet.com. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly to your door. Ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to Ruziet.com and use promo code Newsmax for 15% off your first order. That's Ruziet.com, code Newsmax. Make sure to use my code so they know we sent you. You know, we had some hope for Pope Leo. It was pretty cool seeing the first American Pope, seeing him at a White Sox game at the World Series, hearing him speak English with a Chicago accent. We were hoping that he might return the church to, Catholic principles. He might be different, might be old school, but no. Look at this. This is so embarrassing. If you didn't see this yet, this is one of those deals. I said, I gotta find out, is this real? Is this real? This is your Pope, Pope Leo XIV, blessing a block of ice. literally putting his hand on it and blessing a block of ice at a climate change conference. Yes, the Pope is paying homage to the weather gods. Now, that is just embarrassing. We all know now, pretty clear, climate change is a scam. People have come around, they've realized they've been lied to for decades by Al Gore and John Kerry and Greta Thunberg. We know we know every prediction they've made has failed to come true. We know it's just, and we're done with it. We're done with it. But not Pope Leo. He's all in. And he's calling it the greatest threat to humanity, climate change. A man of God thinks the greatest threat to climate change is the weather. God, is that disappointing? But that's only the beginning. This was a disastrous day for Pope Leo. I know some people liked Pope Francis, who was the woke pope who hosted drag queens at the Vatican. This guy's worse because we had hope, because we didn't see this coming. At least I didn't see this coming. 3 weeks ago, Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and there was a rush. People returned to church. There were lines outside churches. Everything Charlie Kirk did, or the assassination did, to turn people back to the church, this guy just reversed it. I mean, people are going to go, I can't do this. I can't do this. And this wasn't the worst part. On this day, the Pope declared that you can't be pro-life if you support the execution of Joe Karzarniev. If you want the guy who slashed Irina Zarutska's throat on the subway, if you want him executed, you can't call yourself pro-life. Now, I understand that there are liberals out there that think it's okay to kill babies, but not convicted murderers. But that's incoherent. That's insane. We all understand there's a big difference between Joe Karzarniev and an unborn baby. One is perfectly innocent. The other is evil. That's why the Catholic Church had no problem with the death penalty for thousands of years. But now, they're in with the woke crowd. It is really, really sad. On 2 days ago, they gave an award. The Cardinal Kupich in Chicago gave an award to Dick Durbin, Democrat senator, pro-abortion extremist, the guy who's done everything in his power for 40 years in the Senate to make abortion more common, more accepted. And I mean, this is a guy he has no problem with late-term abortion, selective gender abortion, nothing. He's just an abortion fanatic, like all Democrats. They gave him an award, and here's Pope Leo being asked about that. A guy from Chicago. If a pope can't come out against abortion, where the hell are we, Catholic Church? This is just insane. And he says it so matter-of-factly. Everything in this answer is just so offensive to traditional Catholics. Listen to this.
It's important to look at many issues that are related to what is the teaching of the church. Someone who says I'm against abortion but says I'm in favor of the death penalty is not really pro-life. So someone who says that I'm against abortion but I'm in agreement with the inhuman treatment of immigrants who are in the United States, I don't know if that's pro-life. So they're very complex issues. I don't know if anyone has all the truth on them, but I would ask first and foremost that there be greater respect for one another and that we search together both as human beings, in that case as American citizens or citizens of the state of Illinois, as well as Catholics, to say we need to really look closely at all of these ethical issues and to find the way forward as church. Church teaching on each one of those issues is very clear.
No, it's not very clear. And I spent too much of my life in church. I heard 1,000 times them railing against abortion, as well they should. I don't remember a sermon about the death penalty because they're so different. They're two different things. One of them is, again, the most innocent form of life. Conveniently, that life is conveniently ended. And the Catholic Church was that one bulwark against it. And now you have them saying, well, you can't be, now you have them honoring pro-abortion politics who should be excommunicated and saying that you can't call yourself pro-life if you're in favor of the death penalty, which has been part of Christian culture for centuries. And the difference could not be clearer. This is why it's not complicated. One is evil. Joe Karzarniev is evil. What's his name? DeCarlos in Charlotte, who killed Irina Zarutska, is evil. He's evil. We want to kill evil and protect innocence. That's not complicated. Why does he think that's complicated? And the inhumane treatment of immigrants, where is that? I haven't seen that. I've seen immigrants living in hotels and getting $3,000 a month from taxpayers. Does he think keeping the guy who killed the Tren de Aragua guys who killed Jocelyn Nungri, if we keep them out of our, if we deport them, is that inhumane, Pope? Is it inhumane if we keep the guy who killed Lake and Riley out of the country? Or if we round him up and send him back? If we take Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a gang member, a wife beater, a human trafficker, and we deport him, can we still call ourselves pro-life? If we deport Kilmar Abrego Garcia? This is just a joke. He is a joke. He really is. By the way, how does the Vatican treat immigrants, illegal immigrants? I mean, if they make it past your fortified, the walls of the Vatican, do you just welcome them in, give them a hotel room, give them money, give them phones, give them lawyers, or do you kick them out? What do you do there, Pope? Fill us in. Is that inhumane? Can you call yourself pro-life if you don't allow illegal immigrants to squat in the Vatican? I would love for him to answer that, but something tells me he will not. But that's really, really disappointing. This guy's going to be Pope for 20 years, 25 years, and he's going to be blessing blocks of ice, paying tribute to the weather gods. That's what we have as a Pope and leader of the Catholic Church. But maybe, maybe all those people who return to church, maybe they return to, Protestant churches or synagogues, and they're not all Catholics, but that's what turns people away from the Catholic Church, insulting them, telling them if you want to execute killers, murderers, or if you want to kick out gang members, you're not really pro-life. Why not? I wish there were a follow-up question. Can you give an example of inhumane treatment of immigrants in America and versus illegal aliens in the Vatican? Could you fill us in, Popey? I don't think he will. All right, we got to get to this story before we go here. This just made me laugh out loud. Next time you hear about, the Trump administration cutting funding to Harvard or any elite liberal institution, consider the case of Lahore Vagistani, or is it Vagistani? This is a new faculty member. Can you get a picture of Lahore? There he is. This is Harvard. Harvard. Talk about institutions that have fallen. Harvard University hired a drag performer as a new professor who was expected to teach a class on TV show RuPaul's Drag Race in the spring semester. The Ivy League institution announced. The institution welcomed Kareem Kabochandani in a July message to the college community and revealed that the visiting professor from Tufts, talking about another college that has fallen, will teach in the Studies of Gender and Sexuality program. So after all the efforts of the Trump administration to strip this clown college of these ridiculous programs, they still have a Studies of Gender and Sexuality program at the Harvard. Kubachadani is better known by his stage name Lahore Vagistani, a persona that the academic has made an integral part of his pedagogy. The professor will lecture in the guise of Lahore, which has been a personal project for over a decade, even spawning music videos Oh my God, there's so much on this guy. In an interview with his drag persona published at Johns Hopkins University Press, Kubachani spilled the tea on the origin of the off-putting stage name. My name is Lahore Vagistani. My preferred pronouns are she and auntie. I chose Lahore because my family traces its origin back to Pakistan. Lahore is an important city in Pakistan, and I'm a bit of a whore. This is your newest member. I thought it was ridiculous when they hired Liz Warren, but here's the newest member of your Harvard faculty, Lahore. Harvard students, you know, the best and the brightest are going to be sitting in a classroom getting a lecture from this mentally ill man who pretends to be a woman. And I'm not sure if he ever goes back to being a man, and they're going to take notes, and they're going to take tests, and they're going to get grades. They cannot cut off this this ridiculous place soon enough. Enough, Donald Trump. Just end all federal funding to these places. This is why the 4 out of 10 Americans have a positive view of socialism, because of places like this, our elite schools who take these young minds and turn them into mush. Just embarrassing. I wonder if she'll be like making the talk show rounds and appearing on TV. He appearing on TV talking about how important it is to teach college kids about RuPaul's Drag Race. I thought I took astronomy in college. I thought that was a gut course. What is this one going to be like? I think there's going to be a lot of homework, a lot of reading, a lot of studying to pass a test on RuPaul's Drag Race. All right, that will do it. Do you have any thoughts on Lahore Vagistani? Ironhead, did you take any gut courses in college?
Sorry, I've been immediately applying to Harvard since you started the segment.
He kind of looks like you without the beard.
Yeah, nice hairy arms.
Hairy arms. How can you sit in front of a guy like that in class and not laugh in his face? But that is the state of Harvard University. Sad, the downfall of a once great institution. It is kind of sad, but that will do it for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is The Callahan Show, and we will do it again tomorrow.
The evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election. And the complaint that I've heard from